Welcome to the Real Estate Reserve Podcast. I'm Jason Balin at Hard Money Bankers, co-founder Ian Horowitz at Equity Warehouse, and back in studio, John Lindsey from the Lindsey Self-Storage Group. Welcome back, John. Good to see you again. If you didn't listen or watch John's first episode that we released a few weeks ago, it was pretty much fire. He gave us a lot of good perspective of everything self-storage. So that was great. I certainly encourage you to watch or listen to that. But we want to invite John back on to talk about a deal that's changed his life. So, John, how are you? Good to see you again. Maybe start off with telling everybody a little bit about yourself again, and then you can jump right in.
Yeah, man. No, thanks for having me back on. Again, for those who don't know me, John Lindsey, co-founder and president of Lindsey Self-Storage Group. Family's been in the business since 1969. We broker properties all over the U.S., Europe, Southeast Asia, and Latin America. Last time I talked a lot about market trends and some of the shifts we're seeing in the space, a little bit of history of kind of where we're at now. I think Jason, Ian, you guys want to hear kind of the story about a deal that changed my life. I could talk all day about big deals closing and some that have financially changed my life. But, I think one of the things that I'm fortunate enough to do in this space, and I touched on I give a whole chapter to this story in my book, actually. I love helping the single owner operator, who's kind of, let's say, at the end of their career, exit these assets and make $3, $4, $5 million. I mean, this is their entire life's work. When they built it in the 90s or 80s, they never thought about selling it. They literally just built it to make some money, and that was it. And more importantly than that, I've got one story, an owner in the Mid-Atlantic. I had been talking to her and her now late husband for a couple of years, and they were like, look, we bought this deal. Like, we're going to sell it, maybe 10, 15 years when we're ready to retire. We're good now. They had just gotten married. It was a second marriage for both of them. Not 6 weeks later, after the last time I had seen them, I got a call from the wife saying that in that 6 weeks window from when I had gotten dinner with them, her husband had been diagnosed with cancer and died. Just life altering, out of left field, like you've got a month to live kind of message. So she was ready to sell her property. She's like, John, I need a hard reset. I signed up to do this with my husband. Life was good. Like, I'm ready to move on. So of course, like I go down there the next day. I help line her up with contractors to do a little expansion work. I plug her in with some vendors. They add another building. We're going through valuations. 6 months later, we get ready to go to market. And we're starting to go through the process, and come to find out her partners had, unbeknownst to her, tied up the property on another loan for another real estate deal they were involved with. So long story short, we have 4 attorneys on every call, one from the buyer group, one repping the seller, one repping the seller's partner, and then a transactional attorney. Like, there is not a word uttered that is not tracted or transacted by counsel. It took 9 months to sift through all of this nightmare of a situation. And to this day, I helped her not only get out, but she made a profit and she walked from the deal without any issues. And I still get a nice note from her on Christmas every year. We speak, often. She knows exactly who she is if she hears this. And that is by far the deal that changed my life the most. I love helping people, I think, because this was such a kinship space to my father. Like, this is the industry I love, and this is what I do. And yeah, like, closing big deals is awesome. I will not be numb to that. But helping this lady through that time was by far the deal that I am the most proud of in my career.
Yeah, I mean, because you got to use your super skills, right? All the other ones, when guys like us show up or whoever, there's some sort of whatever. It's just another deal. It's just another transaction. I mean, just from the outside looking in, you got to use your superpowers. You got to help take care of her and nurture her and get her to the finish line, which I think is amazing, man. It's really good, because most brokers would step in there and say either A, I want more money to do this, or B, I'm done. There's too much drama. Figure it out and call me later, right? Like, that's what 98% of the people would have done that, right? So.
Well, I appreciate that. And it's, look, we saw an opportunity, and, I tell people all the time, we babysit adults for a living sometimes. That's like what we do. It's like there's a lot of emotions and there's a lot of personalities. And I've been through the head damage of some very challenging deals. But I saw a lady later in her life who had been taken advantage of by partners. And I think having an older father at the time, it really struck a chord with me. And I was on the war path to make sure that she not only was not taken advantage of, but that she was made whole and then some. And she was. We've been through deals where it's taken 9, 12, 15 months because of unforeseen issues. Our average list to close timeline is 104 days. From the day the listing agreement signed to the day it's closed. But we have outliers. We had a deal in Ohio. It took almost over a year because there was a natural gas lease signed in like the 1800s. And because the company was dissolved, we had to send them a certain number of notices to prove that they were no longer going to come after the lease. Even though the company had been shut down in the 50s, we still, by the state's decree, had to send them like 15 notices. It was terrible. So like, I've seen it all at this point, or I feel like I have. I say that. Watch me come up with a new deal next week with something new. But look, it just comes with the territory. And the more we see and the hundreds of deals we've done, we know how to put our head down and just kind of navigate through it. And I think that's something that we really bring to the table, and it takes a special skill set to do so.
Yeah, well, we appreciate your honesty and your transparency, and it comes through, and I hope people recognize that. But not a lot of brokers are like that. A lot of guys are. I'm not saying anyone in particular, but they're usually a lot of sales guys, and they're just looking for their buck. So, having the patience and the wherewithal to get the deals done, I can see how that deal changed your life. And guys, if you got any value out of that, please share this. John, where's the best place people can find you? Hopefully their situation's a little cleaner than that. But you can help them either A, find a deal, or B, get a deal sold.
Yeah, lindseyselfstoragegroup.com. I'm on Twitter, LinkedIn, John Charles Lindsey. You can email me directly, John at Lindsey Self Storage Group. And Ian, it's Lindsey with an E, not with an A.
Yeah, I know. I got caught on the last episode with that one too. So yes, it's Lindsey with an E. Make sure you guys find him. He will answer, and his team members will too. So, brother, appreciate you coming on again, and we will catch you all on the next one.
Thanks, dude.
Thanks for tuning in to the Real Estate Reserve Podcast.